The second thing is, if you were happy when you were poor, you're going to be really happy rich. If you're one of those people that was just stressed and never happy, money ain't going to change that at all.
Hey, millionaire. We all dream of one day winning the lottery. And of course, if that happens, we want to win big. Just imagine how great a multi-million-dollar jackpot would be. It's the literal definition of life-changing. But the thing people forget when they're daydreaming about their big win is that most of us don't really know how to manage such huge amounts of cash. Thankfully, we have experts to help us out. Billionaires are pretty happy to offer their advice to new lottery winners. And it might be a good idea to listen. They sure know a thing or two about what to do with all that money. But Mark Cuban's advice might just surprise you. Let's take a closer look. There's loads of advice out there on what you should do if you win the lottery jackpot, but not all advice can be taken seriously. You don't even know who the people are who are giving you that advice most of the time. But this advice comes straight from Mark Cuban. In case you don't know who he is, he's an American entrepreneur who invented the video portal Broadcast.com. Although you might recognize him better for the show Shark Tank. He's currently worth an estimated $4.6 billion. In other words, he sure knows what he's talking about when it comes to money. But that makes his advice to lottery winners even more interesting. Because, in some ways, it's totally different from what everyone else thinks. There's one bit of common advice he agrees with. Hire a good tax attorney straight away. Most other experts add a good financial manager on top of that. But you get the idea. He's basically saying experts really can help, and they're pretty important. There's no doubt he's right. After all, what do we know about taxes at that level of sudden income? An expert could definitely make sure we get a lot more money out of our big win than we could on our own.
Next, you should not take the lump sum. You don't want to blow it all in one place, he says.
His next bit of advice is to not take the lump sum. You've no doubt heard those words of wisdom before. Experts often say that for a very simple reason that Cuban seems to agree with. You don't want to blow all that cash in the blink of an eye. You'd be surprised how easy it is to spend millions without realizing it. You'd think because you're so used to living on a lot less money, it would be impossible to spend so much. But all you need to do is look at other lottery winners to see that it can, and definitely does, happen way easier than you think. But you can't blow it if you don't take the lump sum. Choose annuity payments instead. Then you know you have a steady stream of cash that's going to be coming into your bank account for years. It's enough to keep you happy, but it stops you from making insane purchases. And while we're on the subject of happiness, there's another thing that Cuban thought it would be important to mention. He says if you weren't happy before winning the lottery, you can't expect to be happy after winning. The old saying is money doesn't buy happiness. And Cuban seems to agree. But he also says if you were happy before you won, you'll probably be even happier after winning. He says that because life gets a lot easier when you don't have to pay the bills. We all kind of knew that already, I think. But he makes a good point. If you can be happy even though you're not earning that much money, then having the money to live your life exactly the way you want is going to make you even happier. I'd bet people who are happy before are also less likely to blow all their cash because they'll only spend it on the important stuff, like being closer to family. What's the first thing you'd do with a big lottery win? Tell us in the comments and keep watching. We haven't even gotten to Mark Cuban's best advice yet. And family is one of the things Cuban mentioned in his advice. But, he says, you need to learn to say no to them. And that includes your friends too. He said loads of people are going to be asking you for money, and it's important to say no. According to Cuban, if you're that close, then you'll know who really needs the money and exactly how much you should give them. He says you can help some people out, but always talk to your accountant first. And don't listen to anyone who's asking for sums like $100,000 or $1 million. According to Cuban, nobody needs that kind of cash for any reason. He says anyone asking for that much money isn't really your friend. I guess he has a point. I'd be surprised if any new lottery winners really listen to him about that though. Still, if you take his other piece of advice and opt for the annuity payment, that will automatically limit how much of your winnings you can give away. I guess the annuity option is even more helpful than anyone thought. His last bit of advice is the most unusual. A lot of people will tell you to get in contact with someone who can invest your money wisely. Not Cuban.
He also says to talk to an accountant before giving money to anyone. And then he says, do not make investments. Sleep comfortably knowing you won't lose money.
He says, don't invest. Sounds crazy? He had a good reason for saying that. He rightly says you don't suddenly become a smart investor just because you won the lottery. That makes sense, right? I mean, if you can't invest your money now, why would you think you can invest it well just because you won millions? And if you think you can do it with the help of expert investors, don't be too sure. There are cases of lottery winners losing everything because they gave it to someone to invest it for them. Some of those winners trusted investors who were actually thieves, and others just chose investors who made some seriously bad investments. But that's kind of the point. How do you know the investment is going to pay off? Well, you don't. And that's what Mark Cuban is trying to get at. He says if you really win big, you should put the cash in the bank and leave it there. If you don't spend like crazy, you'll have enough to live off comfortably for the rest of your life with one of those really big jackpots we've been seeing lately. Plus, he says, you'll sleep a lot more soundly knowing the money is safe and you're not about to lose it all on a bad investment. That sure makes sense to me. Can you hit subscribe before another lottery winner blows their fortune? You have 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Keep watching to make sure you don't make the same mistakes as they did. Mark Cuban also says you need to remember to be nice because nobody likes a mean billionaire. You can say that again. So that's what one billionaire thinks. But do financial experts agree? Let's take a look. The first thing experts say is to not make any big decisions straight away. You need to take your time to decide what to do with that huge win. You want to choose things that will actually make you happier, instead of just buying the huge mansion and fancy car because you think that's what you should do when you have money. Lottery winners have fallen into that trap before. They all pretty much agree that you need to take your time and not make any big life decisions until the adrenaline of the win has worn off. They also suggest hiring that financial expert and going for the annuity option. Experts also say that annuity helps to stabilize your relationships. Basically, your friends aren't going to get so jealous of your big win if you're only getting a smaller amount of money into your bank account. Having a friend who's lucky enough to have $1 million in the bank is quite different from suddenly having a friend with a couple $100 million in the bank. You also won't suffer from serious winner's guilt. So far, all of this sounds a lot like the advice Cuban gave too. They also say, be careful how much money you give away. Now that sure seems to agree with Cuban. Experts say a lot of lottery winners lose all their winnings by being too generous. But that's not just because they give it all away. They also don't know about the thing called a gift tax. In the US, the gift tax is a pretty shocking percentage of the cash you give away too. Each person in the US is allowed to give away $5.34 million as a gift, tax-free. After that, you're in trouble if you give any more away. Giving more cash than that away carries a tax of a whopping 40%. That means half of everything you give away goes to the government. That's a shocking amount of cash to throw away like that. Cuban would say that's another good reason to keep your money to yourself and learn to say no to people. I've got to say, if taxes are that high on gifts, then I kind of agree with him. At least, even if you win $1 billion, make sure you only give away $5 million. I'm sure everyone you love will still be very grateful. Who would you give money to if you won the lottery? Tell us why, and of course, how much you give away in the comments. And keep watching for more expert insights into what to do with your big win. According to experts, you shouldn't tell people you won anyway. A big part of that reason is that everyone wants a piece of your win. Saying no can be hard, but it's a lot easier if nobody's asking in the first place. If you only tell a select group of people who you trust 100%, then nobody's going to come looking for your money. Lottery winners speak a lot about how strangers will show up at their door asking for money. It's also well known that people will find things to sue you for once they know you have a lot of cash in the bank. The easiest way to avoid any of that is to keep your win a secret if your state allows you to remain anonymous. If not, then you better get good at saying no very fast. One place where experts don't completely agree with Cuban is his advice on investing. In fact, his fellow Shark Tank member, Kevin O'Leary, says exactly the opposite. O'Leary suggests you should take the lump sum, specifically so you can invest a lot of cash straight away. He says taking the lump sum is totally fine as long as you don't spend it. He suggests you invest and simply pay yourself an annuity sum every year. According to him, this is the best thing you can do because you'll have a lot of cash available to make it work for you. He says your best investment option is dividend-paying stocks with low volatility. That's the kind of thing investment experts say that most of us won't understand. If you understand what he means, good for you. Maybe you should invest after all. But if not, then maybe Mark Cuban is right about saving the money instead. Other experts seem to be sitting on the fence in this case. Normally, they say you should only invest if you're super confident about what you're doing. If not, it's best to take the annuity option instead, or leave it to the experts. But don't forget what I mentioned earlier. Not everyone gets so lucky handing over their millions to people who claim to be investment experts. But all these decisions definitely also depend on how big your lottery jackpot is. If you've won hundreds of millions, maybe investing 1 or 2 million won't make a big difference. If you only won 1 million, then you have a tougher decision to make. But don't forget, you don't have to do anything. Maybe you already know what you want to do with the money. That's great. If you have your dreams all laid out, that makes your decisions much easier when you finally win. If not, then remember to take the time to think about what will really make you happy. Did you like this video? Then make sure to watch this next one.